Where I live, child maintenance is only decided based on the child's raising cost and the time the child spends at each house. The custodial parent's partner's income doesn't influence the amount at all. My child from my first marriage was born with a health condition, which means he can never live independently. My ex and I divorced when our son was 3, and my ex had to pay $1,800 a month in child support since. My ex is an involved father, but hasn't been able to care for our son for extended periods of time, hence the large child maintenance amount. 10 years ago, I married my husband, who is a doctor. I work as a teacher, and our family is very comfortable financially. But my son will be turning 18 this year, and I've just filed paperwork to have my ex pay child maintenance indefinitely. I don't believe my husband should be paying for my son when he has a father capable of doing so. Since my ex has been made aware of this, he gave me a call in tears, saying that it's not fair to him or his wife, especially since he only makes a little more than I do and his wife is unemployed. But I am contributing to my son's needs in nearly the same monetary amount. I'm having a smaller cottage built on our property. I'm paying for the cottage entirely myself. The maintenance is not going towards that, so my son can have some semblance of independent living. I'm paying for that myself. My ex's money helps pay for a lot of therapies and activities that make our son happy. Am I the idiot? My sister thinks I'm wrong since my husband's income is much higher than my ex's. You are the idiot. You remarried with a very wealthy man who volunteered to pay. You told him no because the child isn't his responsibility. What? You married him, and your son is under your care. He's totally involved and should help take responsibility. Before you got married, did you tell him he wouldn't have to pay because you found a loophole in child support so you guys get free money every month? This sounds like you're only doing this to spite your ex since you have no issues with money now. If you can't afford your child, there are other options, but $1,800 a month? That's more than most people in the US get after taxes. You're definitely milking this. I hope your husband can leave your area and get free of this extortion. Why should the father get to opt out if mom never can? $1,800 a month is reasonable considering his son is permanently disabled. If they were still together, he'd still be paying as much. OP is not the idiot. Wait, because she ended up with someone rich, the new husband is now required to contribute? If the ex ended up with a rich wife, you would require her to contribute to the child support as well? Both parents are supporting the raising of their child equally. How this is considered extortion, I will never understand. You are not the idiot, as long as it's going to the child. Why is he so upset his income is going towards raising his child? He's upset because my husband makes a few times more than what my ex and I make combined. So he thinks my son's cost can be picked up by my husband easily, which my husband has offered to do, but I've refused. I feel badly for my ex, but our son is our responsibility, not my husband's. My ex isn't a bad man or father, and I know the financial burden of caring for a child with extra needs. Without my husband, I'd be struggling too, but I think the biological parents should pay for their children. You are not wrong. It's both your responsibilities to care for your disabled child. Ex could choose to take on the physical care of his son if he doesn't want to pay maintenance or can't afford it. You are not being unfair. He is. It's not your family's job to subsidize the lifestyle of his. Having only one working adult in the home is a choice, not a right. Your son has a right to help from his father. I don't know my future mother-in-law that well. She lives across the country and has been divorced from father-in-law since my fiancé was 3. Future father-in-law had primary custody, and mother-in-law moved across the country to live with her new boyfriend almost right after the divorce was finalized. I try to refrain from judging her, but she wasn't much of a mother. She was the Disney parent until he was about 10 and then had no idea how to connect to him. Future mother-in-law has been remarried for 20-ish years and has never been very interested in our lives. My fiancé's dad remarried when he was little, and she is horrible. She is the biggest attention seeker, drama queen, and her newest mission is to wear a full-on wedding dress to my upcoming wedding. We shut her down, and I told her that if she shows up in anything remotely bridal, I will personally redecorate it, which might not have been the nicest way to put it, but I'm sick of her nonsense. The stepmom told future mother-in-law what I said. I don't know why. They aren't friends or anything. And future mother-in-law got upset and said that I am an aggressive person and she doesn't feel comfortable around me. She then said she doesn't want to come to the wedding because I'm mean. I called her and said that made no sense, and she gave me a bunch of excuses. Finally, her husband took the phone because she was being completely illogical. He said that future mother-in-law has a hard time with other people's weddings because she has anxiety when she's not the center of attention, and then said me shutting down the stepmom makes her feel like I will be hard on her at the wedding. I said that doesn't sound real, and if it is real, it is pretty pathetic. Her husband called me an idiot and hung up. Now I'm being told that I'm an idiot for pursuing it, and I should have taken her no without putting her on the spot. I'm also being told that I am a bully for using the word pathetic, and she has real anxiety. You are all idiots here. Address her inappropriate behavior. Don't personally attack her as pathetic. And where's your fiancé in all this? These are his relatives to manage, not yours. Tell him to deal with them, and the two of you need to agree on who is able to be a welcomed guest at your wedding. You are all idiots here. I can't say anybody here was an exemplary example of grace and courtesy. Why are you all bickering over this? If they don't want to come, you can't force them to. Calling them names only gives them more fuel to complain. They don't sound like the sort of people who would contribute to your wedding in any meaningful way anyway. So maybe it's for the best that they're not there. Anxiety about not being the center of attention? Wow, the ego. Yeah, I think it's more of a sense of entitlement and jealousy, a childish one at that. Your mother-in-law and stepmother-in-law sound quite awful, and I would honestly uninvite both of them. My mother-in-law is somewhat similar to yours, and the security we had hired for the venue just to control her was priceless. White dress, escorted out, sneak back in, thrown out, shrieking hysterics over your baby getting married. Get out. Absolutely, you are not the idiot, OP. My 27 female, boyfriend 29, and I have been dating for about 2 years. About a year ago, I started a new job that never really went fully remote due to the nature of the job. One of my coworkers, who we'll call Alan, was probably the one I was closest to. Alan and I had a good platonic relationship. He's married. I have a boyfriend. The second guy, Ben, and I were less close. From the beginning, Ben was more openly flirty. About 2 months ago, I announced that I was changing jobs and leaving the company. Ben became insistent that we should hang out before I left. I said yes, but when I realized he meant it as a date, I told him something came up and couldn't go. A month ago, Alan reached out and asked if I wanted to hang out with some coworkers who were going out for drinks. He clarified that it would be just me, Alan, Ben, and 2 other people, Cindy and Daisy. Cindy is friends with me and my boyfriend. At drinks, I realized Alan was probably trying to set me up with Ben, even though Alan knows that I have a boyfriend. I decided not to tell my boyfriend and just handle it myself because I figured he would overreact. After drinks, Ben reached out again and asked to get drinks, just the 2 of us. I said yes because I just saw it as friends hanging out, and Ben now definitely knew I had a boyfriend. Cindy asked how he was doing. My boyfriend found out because Cindy mentioned it to him that Ben made some comments about me after I'd left. He asked me about it, and I told him that Ben had been asking me out, but nothing had happened. My boyfriend was upset that I hadn't told him and said he felt uncomfortable that I had never told Ben that I wasn't interested in anything romantic and had instead just left it vague. He also said that he'd feel uncomfortable if I ended up hanging out with Ben alone. I said he was being insecure and he needed to trust me. After Ben persisted, I decided to just get drinks with him and get it over with. At drinks, Ben ended up getting touchy and making innuendos. I mentioned my boyfriend, but he didn't seem to mind. I eventually said I had to go, and he tried to kiss me. I turned my head and walked away. I realized I needed to come clean to my boyfriend that I'd hung out with Ben, despite him telling me that he felt uncomfortable. My boyfriend is really upset and said I betrayed his trust. I told him nothing happened between me and Ben, and I didn't sleep with Ben or anything. I get that what I did wasn't great, but my position is also that it's just not my fault that Ben wanted to sleep with me. My boyfriend's position is that by not telling Ben no when he asked me out for drinks, Despite thinking it was probably a date, I flirted with emotional cheating, even if nothing physical happened. He also says that going to drinks with Ben, even after we talked about how my boyfriend felt uncomfortable, was a betrayal of trust. I still think my boyfriend is just being jealous, and I'm not even attracted to Ben. But I get where he's coming from. So, am I the idiot? You are the idiot. You knew exactly what Ben was doing when he asked you out all those times. Why would you think the last time would be different? And you're right, it's not your fault Ben is being a creep. But how many times does he have to cross the line before you put an end to it? You are such an idiot. It makes sense for your boyfriend to feel uncomfortable about you going to hang out alone with someone who has made their intentions to date you clear. I'm going to give you some credit that you might not have known his intentions, but once you did, you should have canceled the date. Calling your boyfriend insecure because you went to hang out alone with the guy who asked you out is gaslighting. His fears are rational, and he is right to be upset with you. You should have told him what was going on. You are wrong here. You knew Ben was interested in you romantically from the very start, and you still went on a date with him. This isn't about your boyfriend being jealous. This is about you literally going on a date with someone while being in a monogamous relationship. I've had a decent relationship with my parents, and they did what they could for me. My dad is retired, and my mom is about to be. They live by themselves and are comfortable. Recently, my mom found out how much my new job pays, good amount, and then she started complaining about this and that around the house. She wants newer furniture, a new bed, better groceries, a new garden shed, etc. At first, I sympathized because she never really had nice things, so my first paycheck, I upgraded the things she wanted around the house. No big deal. The only issue that came up over dinner was that she started calculating the cost of raising me from ages 0 to 18. Yes, basically started billing me as I was in the womb. She said she had a difficult pregnancy and had a lot of medical bills back then, and the cost of labor, baby supplies, clothing, diapers. So you get the idea. I was like, okay, this may be a lesson on how expensive it is to raise a child. It must be a semi-joke because I didn't ask to be born. But I do acknowledge the effort they put in to not deprive me of things. So she spent the next day typing everything, and it comes up to basically $15,000 the first few years of my life. Later, I did sports too, so it was $20,000 per year. By her calculations, I owe her $310,000. I can pay her in yearly installments to make it easier for me. I was like, what? I don't have any records of her spending an excessive amount of money on me, so I cannot know if she is inflating it or not. She also doesn't have a retirement fund, so I feel like she's using me as her IRA. Anyway, things have been weird and strange. I don't know if I should just pay her monthly installments to help support her, or be like, buzz off, you were an awful mom anyway. LOL. Okay, not really like that, but, long story short, Mother wants me to pay her back for giving me life. Tell her to take you to court and see how that pans out. I guessed she was a bad mother, because only a total idiot would even think to ask you to pay this. No, oh God, no. Parents decide to bring a child into the world, and therefore they have the legal obligation to support that child up to the age of 18. If they choose to support them past that age, they can charge rent, utilities, food, whatever. But you are in no way, shape, or form responsible for the cost of getting you to 18. Sounds like your mom is super greedy now that you're making a reasonable amount, and she sees an easy paycheck here. This is absolutely ridiculous. Tell her to take you to court. She'll be laughed right out the door. Yeah, this is not okay, and she has no right to be billing you. She has no legal leg to stand on here. She chose to bring you into this world, not the other way around. Providing for your child is your responsibility, and it is not something you get to hold over your child. This is why all the posts about being grateful to your parents grinds my gears. Parents do not get accolades for doing the bare minimum of a legally obligated choice. You choose to bring a child into this world. It is your responsibility to take care of it. Done. My wife and I have been together for 10 years. We both turned 30 last week, birthdays 3 days apart, and met in college just after we turned 20. We are child-free by choice. My wife is a social media ad sales manager, and I'm a computer scientist. I was promoted just before the global issue and now make about 3 times what she does. We both have bachelor's degrees from the same school. This is all relevant because once we began working from home, my wife saw that I do a lot less work than her. Essentially, I am given projects and deadlines. If I finish a project prior to the deadline, I spend my extra time playing Xbox, taking the dogs to the park, and keeping the house tidy. Her job is different. She works 8 to 10 hours a day and is often roped into helping coworkers with projects when she isn't working. She's recently been frustrated, jealous, in my opinion, that I work less hard, her words, than her, yet get paid much more than her. We're both 7 to 8 years into our career, and she feels I've come much further than her. I could see these conversations weren't going to end well, so I always tried changing the convo. I'd say things like, our worth as people isn't measured by salary, or we just have different skill sets. I couldn't do what you do, which is true. I know nothing about marketing, ad sales, social media engagement, etc. Regardless, every time she sees me playing Xbox or something, she has to make a snide comment about how I don't deserve my salary and how she wishes she got paid to sit on her butt, etc. 2 days ago, I finally snapped and told her that while I may not work as many hours, my skill set is much more difficult than hers and far more desirable. I said that if she is unhappy with our combined household income, just over $200,000, that she could go back to school and get a computer science degree, and that I was absolutely sick of her trying to make me feel bad because she's unhappy with her career. Well, she's been ignoring me for 2 days, and her mom called me and told me off for belittling her. Of course, my wife didn't mention that she's been giving me crap for over 6 months now. I'm genuinely curious if I'm an idiot and should have kept my mouth shut, or if I was justified in finally giving her a piece of my mind. You are not the idiot. Your wife belittled your career and the amount of effort you put into it for months because she's jealous. And when you point that out, we're supposed to believe you're wrong? Not a chance. Just because she's unhappy with how much she has to work doesn't make it okay to belittle you or your career. At the most, I'd say you're a justified idiot. Global situation is the idiot. This fight is only happening because you are both working from home with not enough to do. No, global situation just exposed the wife. She acted poorly here and should own up to it. If she is not happy with her job, she should not be rude to her husband about it. Imagine seeing your spouse earning a great paycheck and being happy doing it and enjoying the freedom to do chores to make your own life easier, then crapping on them because you're frustrated with your own work. That's on her, and she needs to address it. Being ticked off at your spouse for having something good is not healthy.